Well, thank you so much. Just to start, I want to thank you, Violetta. It's the first time we are actually connecting in this space, even though you've been a part of our lives for some time and such an inspiration, and you're very powerful setting of the scene and setting the foundations for eco-civilization. And it's beautiful. On our screen, you're exactly on the other side from Alexander Laszlo, and just bringing your father, who's been, changing the paradigm by changing his life from a classical musician to a visionary, what could one even say, much more than a scientist of the human and planetary and cosmic space. So just thank you for framing this so well. And what we want to do, Marina, it's been such a beautiful relationship because the One Home journey has been in partnership with the Living Cities movement, if we could say so, over this past year. And that journey has taken us very early to where you're seeing Rufin and Milian in a refugee settlement in Uganda. Both are from the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which we know is a country where people just stopped counting when we passed the 10 million mark, and that was many years ago. When I was working on the Congo in 2000, 25 years ago, we had already counted 10 million had died, and we just stopped counting. And here are these extraordinary beings, especially young people, who are creating home and belonging, creating all of those pillars that you mentioned already in the foundations of the new civilization, that safe space, that reimagining and making real their imaginations. And if you see already, you get a feeling of this magical space that Melian and her equally extraordinary husband, Ishara, have created, in addition to many other things, like a school for refugee children, the studio where you can feel the safe space, a home within a home within a home, which is not a home, because these are refugees who've been forced out of their homes by violence. And Rufin, who is like this golden thread that supports and links all these different movements together. And a highlight of our time there was Rufin, who had come with his two colleagues to pick us up at the border from Tanzania. Tanzania. Took us to the refugee camp. We had these interactions with all of these different initiatives that each one had created the space of belonging, of home, of reimagining, of recreating a civilization of humanity and of unity with earth and all life in the midst of abject and total devastation, stripping of our humanity, especially the abandonment by the world of the humanity of one of the richest, most beautiful and largest countries on earth. And then I zipped over to our beloved Paco Ayala. So we were with Rufin exactly a year ago. Do you remember that our last day together was the full moon of November, which was just a couple of days ago? That's when we parted after a very, very powerful time together in Uganda. And then a few months later, in the spring, in March, we were with Paco Ayala. And as you will hear from them in their own words, but Paco too, the other extreme, going to the biggest capital in the world, isn't it? Right? And Mexico City, I think it's called so. And how they took the devastation and the rubble, and as citizens created this inclusive space. So I think for us, what we want to bring into the idea of home, which was not something as so many of you, just traveling and working all over the world, and like you, Alexander, being able to make home wherever you go, if you're there 5 minutes, you're at home. And discovering how it's in the midst of loss, of devastation, that's when creating home becomes so important. When the home that was your home has been, bombed to bits, destroyed, whether it's by, climate change, whether it's by war, whether it's whatever. Oh, wonderful. Our
It
dear
worked.
Dr. Ephraim,
Ntate
Cebiso
Mabena.
Ntate Mabena. Is Mama Mabena going to join with you?
She's still busy for now.
No worries. Tate Mabena, if you could slightly move the screen so we can see all of your noble
Bring
and
it down a
fine-
little bit.
Yes, just
A little
tiny
bit down the screen. That's it.
Yes, a little bit. Yes, that is fantastic. Thank you so much. Tati Mabena, we are just starting and framing, introducing the notion of home, but I was beginning to do so by introducing our 3 homes for humanity. And we had introduced Rufin and Melian from the refugee settlement in Nakivale refugee settlement in Uganda. They are from the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. We were just traveling to Mexico and speaking about how we have this citizenship means, and earth citizenship means, in the midst of devastation, taking agency, as we saw amongst the extraordinary people, but especially the young people in Nakivale. And like you did, Paco, and all of the citizens of Mexico who came together to transform this devastated place into the utter social beehive, the colmena social, where everything happens, where life, the living city, you step into a paradise. I wept the entire time I was in Huerta Roma Verde, because everywhere you look, it's seeing the beauty created out of nature, out of recycled materials. You see the little kids learning to compost and loving the smell of compost. You see art everywhere. You see imagination and wildness. It is, Violetta, you'll be thrilled to see, it is the living civilization you're working for. And of course, when you see what Dr. Ephraim Cebiso, whom we call Ntate Mabena, Tate Mabena, I enacted your story yesterday in a meeting on social justice here for Human Rights Day, and people were just so moved. And I ended it with the words of your president, Nelson Mandela, who had said, "We will be free when Palestine is free." So we were in Mamelodi, which Ntate Mabena almost single-handedly transformed from a dumping heap, from the torture grounds of apartheid, where he himself was tortured and abandoned, into a healing sanctuary, into a heritage village for indigenous wisdom and for our oneness with nature. So for us, in a way, these beautiful beings amongst the many homes for humanity, the living spaces, the living foundations of an eco-civilization, the places where we can human well in unity with all life, they say better than we ever could why this word home has become so potent, so fragrant, so meaningful for us, why it has, what could we say, it has homed us, It has shown us that it is possible, as the world is being destroyed and the old paradigm is dying, we can reimagine it in such a better way. And we have the agency, the imagination, the two together, and the co-creation to establish that. So we're very honored that these beautiful members of our community, who we feel honored to know, are here to testify to that. Sorry, Alexander, it took a bit of a while, but I wanted to just make it a way to presence how, yes, each time we are with an organization or a movement, we honor as home our own understanding of home, the word home in the different languages, as Rufin and Milian will share, and what it means keeps growing, and our own understanding of our humanness keeps expanding, our ubuntu.
You used a beautiful word of presencing what we are experiencing, and what we are in home is an experience. And I just want to feel in this very moment into the presence of our togetherness, because I feel home. I feel home. And maybe like Alexander invited us, if you feel like it, raise your hand, or both. If we share this feeling of coming together in home. And And as we tune into that sense, yes, Milian and Ruffin, we also sense, and I'm very, very happy that Mother Africa is so present on this call, because that is a space that we all can call home. And I wonder if we agree, perhaps we can raise our hands for Mother Africa for a moment. Our original home. And that is also where the One Home journey started. It started in Africa, in the cradle of humanity, the cradle that also belongs into a home. So home on the one hand is maybe one of the most intimate words that we have in all our languages. Perhaps one of the most intense longings we all hold in all our hearts. But it's also, looking now on the upper left of our screen, it's also kind of a civilizational longing. Violetta, you as the protagonist of the eco-civilization, I guess as we are in this process of destruction and rebuilding and building a future, and building and working on a new civilization, the very term of home is not only as its heart, but it's also as we feel. And that is really at the very center, I would say, of the Home for Humanity movement. It is a sense of agency we all have. Wherever we are, and even is, and the One Home journey is focusing very much on working around the world in the most desolate situations, the most difficult and challenging situations, like, for example, Ntate Mabena faced in South Africa in the apartheid area, from where he rebuilt home, or Ruffin and Milian in the refugee camp, people who've lost their home, who've had to leave their homes and yet rebuild home.
And not just for themselves.
As an act of defiance, of resilience, as an act of togetherness. And when we were, and Ruffin will share later, at Nakivale refugee settlement, where many, many homes were connected, from schools to women's cooperatives, to a music initiative, to Milian Studio, we created a home ecosystem, a Homes for Humanity ecosystem. And at the end of our time in Nakivale refugee settlement, we were singing all together in Ruffin's home. Nakivale is a home. Nakivale is a home for humanity. And that brings me to another point. Home also as a touch point with our humanity. This is something that I guess we are discovering on this journey, as we discovered before, now with 80 Homes for Humanity across the planet. Home is also the touch point for and of our humanity, from where we rebuild, where we reconnect, from where we connect as homes in order to build a new civilization. And we are always, as we are on the journey, we are talking about the 3 levels of home. And I guess we can all feel them. The one symbolized by a little olive wood heart from Jerusalem, our inner home. Home is a space that we all hold in ourselves, in our hearts. That is a home that is always with us. But then it's also the home, and here's a little symbol from
Lesotho. The Venda people.
From the Venda people, from South Africa. Musician. In the north of South Africa, in Ntate Mabena, a musician gave us this little symbol of a little hut. That is the homes we build, the realities that we live, that we enliven, and that is what we also focus on profoundly. How do we rebuild the future? How do we build sustainable organizations, enterprises, universities, community initiatives, kindergarten, schools, homes that are places of belonging, from where we can thrive and from where we can connect, and that we see, and this, where we can see our contribution home to our one home, the one home that we all share. From Africa to Asia, to the Middle East, the Arab world, to Europe, to the Americas. And one thing, you mentioned the word disruptive at the very beginning. We are a disruptive movement as living cities. One thing which is very important, what we felt, home, a space of agency, however bad it gets, the place where we are, the place where that we can call home to some degree. We can make home, and we can make it a home of a place of belonging for a whole community and reach out. Like we will later hear in Ntate Mabena, as you did on your Mamelodi mountain, restoring nature, restoring home, and making it a home for the entire community. And we want to share one thing, because initially the Homes for Humanity movement, we focused very much on homes where people live as places of transformation. So not just where the family is at home, but places of transformation, building community, the society that are building civilization. We are focusing on organizations and initiatives, as I mentioned just before, but we are also moving forward. We actually just last week, for the first time on the Home for Humanity, One Home Journey, an entire municipality in the Philippines, we will share later more about it, became a home for humanity. 26,000 people, a whole municipality itself. We are home. We are a home for humanity. And we define ourselves not just being a place for our citizens living in this place, but we are taking care of the land of where we are, of the society to which we belong, and we take care of our common home, the earth. And so the one term, Rama, I think, which is very important, we listened in this first year of the One Home Journey profoundly. And we were blessed to listen to people such as Ntate Mabena, to Rufen, to Melian, to Paco, each of them a social innovator, a wisdom carrier in their own rights. But we listened carefully also what is at the very heart, as we are rebuilding civilization across the planet, what is actually the energy, the capacity that is rising between us in order to build such a sense of belonging, to build a new civilization, and to participate. To participate in this great process of recreation of where we are now as a species. And the term that was coming, we couldn't find a better term at this moment, was Earth Citizen, the term that is also the title of today's session. And Earth Citizen, not global citizen, not the disconnected way that we experienced in the decades before, people running footloose across the planet, but Earth Citizens, which roots us in the earth, on which we stand in our own locality. But it also roots us in our body, the piece of land and earth that we are carrying wherever we go. And it connects us on our common home, the earth, and the earth now as a living organism of which we are part, which we don't own, but which we inhabit with all of life. And that's actually the journey so far. That is our feeling and understanding of how Earth citizenship can become, and is already profoundly so, an agency, an energy of rebuilding our future. And the cases, the powerful stories that are with us on the screen today, examples of just that, and we are in depth about this. And from my side, I would like to pause here. We have more to share in practice of all the experience, but I think we have such potent voices on the screen that would be beautiful to hear from Ntate Mabena, Rufen, Melian, and Paco about how they build home.
Mm-hmm. And how the city and home are connected, and how they are doing so, and how what you've done has transformed the larger reality of the wider cities and environments that you are in. Absolutely.
And we just briefly introduce also our mother, Saroja, who has just joined the call.
Hi.
So we are joined by the
Saroja,
grandparents.
Mani. My parents have been on the journey with us. They've been in every single country, no matter what the time zone. They have met all the 12,000 people of the first year, and they were very much with us when our movement collectively received the Guzi International Peace Prize a couple of weeks ago, which was really, a beautiful signal of the collectivity, that the collective imaginary can create the new reality. So it was,
We are so blessed
Yeah,
that
and-
we are able to be with them, with all of you. What more can we ask for sitting here and seeing all of you? That's our pleasure. We are blessed. Thank you. Lovely seeing you. Happy to meet you all. Om Shanti.
Maybe
And I
there's
guess I could say one word, because definitely it was my mother's capacity to create home, not just inside our walls, but I remember as a young child we moved to this apartment building where there were people, Christians, Parsis, Muslims, of many different kinds of Muslim, Hindus, communist atheists, all living within 7 floors of an apartment building, not talking to each other, just like if you were in New York. And within a couple of months of us being there, everyone was meeting in our home, and we were celebrating thereafter for the next many years, every festival together, every community together, every celebration together, and it became a real community where social classes, religions, creeds, discipline didn't matter at all. And it was that thing of in the middle of Mumbai, being able to do that. So I guess that was where the seeds were planted. And and now we see that it can happen everywhere. So open now.
And in this period, I just would like to add a line, because I think it's so significant that we have the parents here. The home story that we are holding collectively is also a story of restoring family.
But the earth family.
The earth family. It's coming together as family, and this is what we profoundly experience. Not just because Rufin is now our son. We kind of adopted each other mutually. And we feel the same for Melian. Ntate Mabena. Ntate means grandfather, the grandfather Mabena. That's how you are called, and that's who you are also in the earth family that we are creating. And Paco, such a sense of brotherhood has been developed also in this process of homes across borders, transcending borders, working together, home to home, as rebuilding also and restoring the family of life. While we are not blind to all the other massive forces of division that are rocking the boat, which we call planet home, dramatically, and yet there is also the a reconstitutional energy and movement that is re-knitting the family of life, not just of humanity, the family of life in a whole new way together. And that is why we are here as home for humanity. That is why we are on the one home journey. And that is why we also will soon come, dear Alexander, to Argentina, and Violetta to Slovenia, and of course to England and Russia. The 2 homes, Marina, that you embody, because we are weaving our different cultural spaces together with love.
So where should we go? Where should we travel first? Should we go as the journey began, first to South Africa? Back to you, Marina. You will be introducing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest you to pass the word to whoever you think would be the best.
Well, we begin with our elder, our indigenous wisdom carrier, our dear Dr. Ephraim Cebiso Mabena and Ntate Mabena. Perhaps you would start us with a traditional blessing and, then take us into your story. And then we would move from there. If that's okay with you, you could decide which way, whether we jump continents and then come back to Rufin and Melian, who really are our voice for the future, really such inspirations for the future. So maybe we would jump from there to Paco, our brother, and then to our children. Yeah. If that sounds good to you all.
Over to
And give
you.
us a sense, Marina, because I know we started a bit late and
Yeah.
we took perhaps a little bit longer than we planned to. Give us a sense of the framework and how you would like that to unfold so that we also can get some discussion with the other people who've joined this call and hear their senses of home.
Yes, and may I just add, Ntate Mabena should Mama Mabena, Mama Mabel Mabena, the two are co-creating profound healing processes in their communities. If she is around, it would be beautiful to have Mama Mabena also with us. Ntate Mabena, the video was turned off for a moment. Are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, technology.
Yes, please.
Over to you.
We have an hour to share our experiences and ideas, and then 10 minutes left to wrap up everything. So I think that the next hour we can dedicate to our discussion of the home, sense of belonging, and earth citizenship.
Great.
Oh, you're muted, Dr. Mabena. Please unmute yourself.
You are mutable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Can you hear me? Thank you. I would love to greet everybody in the name of those who came before us, in the name of the elders, in the name of everybody. I say this, thank you for the great opportunity, Rama and Alexander, that you gave me. I feel very, very honored. I feel like I'm in your country. I feel like I'm with the Palestinian brothers and sisters. I feel I'm all over. I feel I'm welcomed by everybody. You know, I don't know what to say. When I'm excited, I'm become speechless. But really, let me start by saying I feel very, very honored, and I greet you all. The story that I'm going to tell you is going to be a short story, but with tears of joy, with tears of joy, of sorrow. It was not an easy journey, but I started it. For those who came before us, like the elder, my leader, my former president, Nelson Mandela, he said we fought. Now it is time to reconstruct and develop our country, of which is our home. Throw those guns away and now begin to reconstruct and develop our country. That actually made me as a former freedom fighter, that has made me to throw the gun away and now begin to reconstruct and develop my country. While others were developing the country, doing something better for the country, I decided, because when I grew up, visiting this mountain that is next to me. And the very same mountain, as a young boy, I used to go to that particular mountain and play hide and seek. But as I grew up, I joined the African National Congress. I joined Umkhonto weSizwe. And it was a calling that I must liberate my country. As a soldier, I was very, very close to the mountain. I was very, very close with the trees, with the rocks, with the flora and fauna. And when the call came to me to say, now throw those guns away, I went back to the mountain and give thanks to that particular mountain. For what reason? It is because when I was a soldier, I used to hide my DLB, my weapons, at the very same mountain. And I used to hide my weapons near the certain trees, different types of trees, under certain rocks. And when Mandela said, it is time to reconstruct and develop, I went to the mountain and I saw that mountain. The mountain has played such a significant role. Mountains play such a significant role in our lifetime as human beings. Culturally, religiously, politically, and otherwise. As I said, when I was a young man, I used to go and fetch, indigenous fruits on the mountain. I used to catch some innocent birds as as a young boy over there. But when Mandela said, go, it's time to reconstruct, what struck me is the place that, because the very same mountain I was, interrogated by the police on the very same mountain. They took me from my home and interrogated to the very same mountain. So when Mandela said it's time to reconstruct and develop, then came into me that I must try and reconcile with the mountain that has played such a significant role when we fought for our freedom. Because it is the very same mountain I went to say, please hide me. The police, when they interrogated, I could have been dead, but surely because of the spirits that are on the mountain, because of those plants, those trees can talk, trees have eyes, trees can hear, and other species that were on the mountain. Because remember, as an African, we take flora and fauna, we take nature as our home. And that's where I decided to say, firstly, I must go to the very same mountain I grew up in and say, thank you, you saved my life. I say, thank you to those flora and fauna. You were there when I was interrogated by the police. You were there when I wanted to come and fetch some indigenous fruits. You were there when you hid my DLB, my weapons. And you were there. You allowed me to, when I wanted to come and pray on the mountain. The mountains that have saved my life, mountains are not selfish. That's where I learned from those particular mountains. And that's where when Mandela said, it's time to reconstruct and develop. Even today, for 23 years, when I visit the very same mountains, guess what? Who is greeting me? Those flora and fauna on the mountains, those insects that you can't even see with your naked eye, those birds that are around the mountain who said, we know you did our level best. That's why we migrated. Now we're coming back because we have cleaned. You have the mess that you people have caused or other people have caused. You came. You are the chosen one. That is why today I honor that mountain. I came to apologize to the same mountains that all of us, we fought, we hide our DLBs, we went there and pray, we went there and play and hide and seek. But when freedom came, I stood and, I went to the mountain and said, on behalf of my country, on behalf of my community, on behalf of everybody who helped to fight the apartheid, I say to you, mountains, you were there. And I said, thank you. That's why today I'm looking, when I'm looking at it on top of them, because inspired by people like Martin Luther King, who said, I've been to the mountaintop, I've seen the glory of God. I've been to the mountain of Mamelodi, and I've seen the tears of Mamelodians crying when they were tortured, brutally murdered by security police. I was on top of the mountain. That's why I climbed back to say to the mountain, when I saw the tears of the same mountain, the tears, for the first time I've heard tears crying. For the first time I've heard, seen the tears crying. And I put up my boots and went to the mountain and said to the mountain, I'm here. I'm no longer fires on the mountains, no longer digging unnecessarily illegal digging of plants. I said, I'm going to stand. I had a meeting with some different flora and faunas, just to joke about that. I had it, the first climate change that I had in Mamelodi, it was not only with the human beings, it was with the flora and fauna, discussing with few animals, and they told me that they've heard about me, they've felt about me when I climb the mountain and make sure that I was there to protect them. What I'm saying, because as an African, the idea of home extend beyond individual household to encompass the entire community and the land itself, the ancestors, and those who have passed on. That's why I said, when we talk about home, we're not talking about only the walls. We're not talking about only the fence that surrounds you. We holistically talking holistically about home. Palestinians, when I go to Palestine, I will feel home. When I come to your country, I will feel at home. It is very, very, very important that, what we need in our lifetime, we need definitely to make sure that we develop program exchange. I visit your country. I believe in each one, teach one strategy. That is the very important, each one, teach one. Learning from your country, how you fought against climate change, how you fought hunger, how you fight, learning from you those strategies. It's so very, very important. That's why when I actually, after freedom, we got our freedom in South Africa, I went to the mountain and say, thank you, mountain. You were there. Thank you. The bird, all the species that are on the mountain, if they were talking, they were going to salute me. But spiritually, I feel every time I went to the mountain, these trees salute me. And I just can feel spiritually that this is how my journey went. And I owe that, because sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what is the reason? What is the reason we are on earth as human beings? Surely each and every one we have responsibilities. Even one day when we are taught that there is judgment, I'm going to be asked with the time and the most of what did I contribute on earth? Surely I will show a lot that this is what I've contributed. Even if you can take your calculator will tell you at the age of what I was training my community, kickboxing and karate and fencing. At the age of certain age, I was a freedom fighter. At a certain age, I did all reconstructing and development. At a certain age, my journey was now reconstructing and rehabilitating the mountain which was used by apartheid regime to torture our people. So if you take the calculator, calculating my age bit by bit, you can see that I've contributed in my entire life to just, I'll be judged by the community, whether I'm a hero or what. I cannot judge myself, but I felt that I own this planet, a great deal. And I feel that I can, I can do more. And I can do more. There's something that sometimes life, when I look at myself, I take life not only as a mirror where I look upon myself, but life to me is a glass where I see through. I see our brothers, Palestinian brothers. I see other people who have in other countries using my imagination, using my internal, eye. That's why even I've never been to Palestine and see my brothers and sisters, how they suffer, but I can use that eye that is a glass to me, spiritual eye, without even looking at TV, television, what is happening in Palestine, but I can be with Palestinian spiritually. I can be with them because I'm using that eye that I can penetrate. It's not TV, it's not mirror where I can see. There are no photos, but I can feel because we are from there. Actually, the life in Palestine, actually, it makes us feel very, very, very bad. We fought in South Africa, but we never fought, like our brothers and sisters in Palestine. I grew up hearing the stories about Palestine. When I joined Umkhonto Wesizwe in 1979, we were young, but Palestine was, the Palestine was, we heard a lot about, but even now, at this age, I'm still hearing that people are dying. So that is why I say, I'm very, very touched when I talk about a country like Palestine and many, many other countries who are still oppressed, feel like what you call. That is why I say, yeah, life to me, it's not just a mirror. Life to me, it's a see-through where I can see other countries, where I can hear the cries of other people from other countries. If I can hear a certain bird crying from the behind my back, why can't I hear the cry of a person in Palestine, in any other countries that there are wars that are what? In my conclusion is, that is the question I always ask. What is our purpose on earth as human beings? What is our purpose as human beings on earth? And how can earth citizenship become unifying identity for human flourishing? Definitely, first we need to have what we call the truth and fairness. We had to develop, exchange programs so that you can learn from my country, I can learn from your country. How can we unite our people? How can our leaders, the most important, are we still led by honest leaders? That's the question I always ask myself. Are we still led by honest leaders? If our leaders can unite among themselves, if the two elephants are fighting, definitely the grass will suffer. If our leaders are fighting, I don't care whether it's political or what, but we at the grass, we suffer a lot. And that pains me, definitely, that pains me on daily basis, that our leaders must now begin to unite more than talking on top like Irish cream. It makes me sick, it makes me bleed. It makes me feel, it makes me bleed inside because yesterday we were on our country as South Africans. But surely you can hear sometimes this instability in our country. And that pains me. Is this what I fought for? What more people in Palestine who are suffering and dying every day? Are we still have leaders? Does the planet have leaders? The planet needs leaders who are honest. Our planet needs leaders who are God-fearing, not just leaders, God-fearing, peaceful-minded leaders. In conclusion, this is what I've learned from Ntate Mabena, that go and reconstruct and develop. Today I can talk with trees. Today I can talk with different flora and fauna. I can understand what they mean. That's why as in indigenous knowledge holders, we never had barometers, our barometers just to gauge the rain, that the rain is coming. We will study flora and fauna, that when you see a certain flower, there is war coming. When you see a certain animal, there is war coming. And that is why today I respect my planet. I wish I can have more and more and more. I know that I won't stop, but thank you very much.
Thank you, our beloved Ntate Mabena. My father is clapping for you. We want to also say it was very beautiful that you took us to this one of the oldest mountains of our home planet, Mamelodi. And by restoring the mountain physically, spiritually, socially, as the Mothong African heritage sanctuary, you also brought new life to your Mamelodi township near Pretoria. So it's a beautiful way that we could start this discussion of the soul of the city with living cities, with eco-civilization, with how we have to be, that the notion of city has to be of unity with nature, with Mother Earth. And you really brought this oneness of the Earth family. And we still feel like yesterday, when last September, or the 8th of October, I remember, we were standing there and you explained to us that Mothong, the name of your sanctuary in Mamelodi, that means humanity. And humanity that doesn't exclude the non-human, the more than human, but it's this oneness. So another word, Violetta asked us, share the word for home in your languages. And I think that one of your gifts to the world is this beautiful term, Mothong. Everyone knows Ubuntu, but Mothong. So we're taking this Mothong and moving it to Paco, so deeply enriched, dear Ntate Mabena, by your way of just, embarking us on the journey with your powerful words and wisdom and life experience and the whole spirit of the nation that you helped to build.
And I would like to add just one line, which I think is so important, Ntate Mabena, from your life work, together with Mama Mabena, that as you were healing the mountain, as you were healing and restoring the relationship to nature, on the Mamelodi mountain, for the Mamelodi community, you also developed and brought your own indigenous healing wisdom into your community. And it's a year from now that we were in your clinic, in your traditional healing clinic, bringing healing into the community through the wisdom that you are holding. And this is a profound gift in the way how you build or restore the soul of your city, the soul of your community, which is the theme also of today. And this restoration of the soul of the city is also what we found. If we may move on, dear Ntate Mabena, to our brother in Mexico, Paco Ayala, who built Huerto Roma Verde together with his community to, Paco, dare I say, restore the soul of Roma, of Mexico City.
Reimagine and recreate the soul of Roma.